Hi, welcome to the Unit 1 Day 4 notes for AG2. Today we're going to be looking at the foundations in the unit Foundations for Geometry. This is the midpoint and distance in the coordinate plane. So our I can statements for this are I can apply the formula for midpoint, and then the other one is I can use the distance formula and the Pythagorean theorem to find the distance between 2 points. Let's jump in with the definition of the coordinate plane. Some of you may remember this from content in previous courses. The coordinate plane involves the x and y axis. And again, I'm going to grab a straight edge, looking for something handy. So here, I'm just going to actually make it here off to the side. So this is my vertical axis, which we usually call y. And then this is my horizontal axis, which we normally call x. Now this divides the coordinate plane up into 4 what we call quadrants. So we have quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is quadrant 1, this is quadrant 2, this is quadrant 3, and then this is quadrant 4. Most of what you see in real life involves quadrant 1 because it has positive x and positive y values. And then the other thing to remember is that we have ordered points, basically a coordinate, and that gives us an actual location on this. So if I was to say this coordinate, say this point, I'm going to use a different color. Hopefully you can see the difference. I'm going to use this coordinate right here, so that point, and then that would be x, comma, y. Now, the problem is if I make another point on this coordinate plane, and that's also called x, comma, y, we have a problem. So the way that we notate kind of the difference between these is we use what's called a subscript. So we would say x sub 1 stands for subscript 1. So x sub 1, and then y sub 1. So that would be the first point here, x sub 1, y sub 1. And then if I wanted to make another point, say down here, then that would be x sub 2, y sub 2. So that part may be new, hopefully not. Hopefully remember the different parts of the coordinate plane. So let's get a definition. I actually said it, but let's go ahead and write it in this note spot. So the coordinate plane is a plane. So remember, when I say the word plane, I'm going back to that first section, Unit 1, Day 1 notes, and then we're expanding on that idea of the plane. So plane that is divided or split up or separated into 4 quadrants. That's what the word quadrant means, actually, is 4 different areas. Quadrants by horizontal. Horizontal goes left and right, horizontal. So we call that the x-axis. And a vertical. Vertical goes up and down. And that's our y-axis. And then we talked about how we identify points on there. So we identify points. So points are identified with an ordered pair. So this is what we were talking about earlier with, I dropped my pen, with x, comma, y. So now that I have that, with that x, comma, y, you can see over here we have that x sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2. We can keep on adding numbers if we have more points on there that we wanted to identify, x sub 3, y sub 3, and so on. Because these are also points, we could name them other ways too. In fact, if you see down below in this example with the midpoint formula, you can see that I've named point B as point B, but then I also said, well, this is the x sub 2, y sub 2. And I want to connect that idea because we're going to be using that for the midpoint formula. So the midpoint formula, I'm going to give you the midpoint formula first, but the idea behind it is essentially we're going to try and find what's the midpoint between 2 other points. So a point here and a point here on my coordinate plane where's the middle point for this? So the formula itself, we use the midpoint formula, so the midpoint, and then we take x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2, and y sub 1 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. So this is our midpoint formula. This gives us our new x and our new y. The idea behind this, actually, this is, if we add two things together and then divide by 2, what we're really doing is we're taking the average. So these are both averages here. So those are the averages of those. And if you think the midpoint formula here in this example, what we would do is we would add in x sub 1, so whatever value this is here, plus x sub 2, so whatever value this is here, divide by 2, and we get this point right here. So this is the midpoint. And the way we would get that is if we do x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2. That's what this value is here. So if you think about along this line, this is the average or the middle of this point. That's where this is. It falls in the line right here. And then the same is over here true with the y values. So if I add y plus 1 plus y sub 1 plus y sub 2, that's the average or the middle of these two. And then if I make a little dot that goes, dashed line that goes over here, dashed line that goes over here, that's what gives us the midpoint m, which is the average of the two. Another example of this, before we actually get into it, if you think about like on a number line, so if I go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I want to find the middle between these two, so if I say I have 1 and 5. So I want to find the midpoint between this. So what I would do is I would add up 1 plus 5 and then divide by 2. Now, whenever you have an operation in the numerator or the denominator, you always do that first. I talk about that as being the ninja parentheses, ninja because you can't see it. So we actually do the 1 plus 5 part first. So 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So the midpoint in this example is 3. And you can count and visually see, like, this is 1, 2 units away, and then 2 units away. So it's exactly in the middle between those two values. Join me in the next video where I jump to example 1.